Am I audible?
Yes.
And am I visible?
Yes, you're visible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Very good evening to one and all. As you all know, I'm Nahim Bijapure and I'm the coordinator of third and fourth day of our debate series. I heartily welcome respected Oseka ma'am. Communication work for those who work at it. With this note, let's start today's session. Same as last 2 days, today also the next 10 teams will debate with their partners. Smruti Ganpa, Akanksha Banga will be the host for today's session. Vedika Adheli will be the time coordinator for today and tomorrow's session. So guys, are you ready? Please reply.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All the best to all of you. Try to give your 100%. And now I would like to hand it over to Smruti Ganpa. Smruti, you can proceed.
Thank you, Nahim. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Just, good evening, everyone. Just a second. Good evening, everyone. Uh, Today is the third day of our debate series. I am Smruti Ganpa. Uh, last 2 days, we had a nice debate. I'm sure today we will have very nice debates. Now, starting, I would like to call up today's first team, roll number 57, Tejas Patwadkar, and roll number 58, Siddhant Khobre, and their topic for debate is cricket killing the growth of other sports in India? Over to them.
Yes, Siddharth, you can start.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Siddhant, and my friend Tejas are allotted with the topic cricket killing other sports in India. So
Well,
I'm totally agreed with the fact that cricket is killing other sports in India because our Mr. MS Gill, the former sports minister, have already told that the advertisement have just changed the world of cricket and uh, at extent that it's now become like a Mount Everest and it's badly affecting the other sports in India. We live in a country where we have one sixth of total population of the world. Still, there is very hard to achieve the bronze medal in Olympics as hockey, which is our national sport, is there was a time when we won the gold medal in Olympics and we also won World Cup in 1975, but no one remembered that because all we remember is Kapil Dev winning the cricket match in 1983. At that time, people give keen attention to that game, but not anymore because I think hockey is now a sport which died naturally due to the lack of leadership and membership. And we all know that whether it be a World Cup T20 match or an IPL match, there is tremendous amount of media attention given to them, whether it's press or television. These factors that like
Sorry to interrupt,
brand
but your
endorsement.
time is over.
Yes, I'm just about to finish.
okay.
So all I wanted to say that all, there is a need to reform the other sports also and give them equal chances, equal exposure. And let's take inspiration from cricket and let the sportsmen of other fields have equal opportunities, earnings, and affection as well. Thank you.
So
Over to Tejas.
I'm against to this. Okay, I'm against to this. Good evening, everyone. The title of today's subject for debate is cricket killing other sports in India? Now, after hearing this subject, does it sound proper and practicable? There is absolutely no. How one sport will kill another sport? On the contrary, I say with utmost determination that one sport encourage other sports, like one lamp lights other lamp in the same way. One sports into spread sports. It is so, otherwise we would not have heard names of PV Sindhu in badminton, Vishwanath Anand in chess, Sania Mirza in tennis, Virendra Singh in boxing, and the list goes on and on. The above names shows that other sports apart from cricket are also flourishing in India. Very recently, very recently in an going very recently in an going Olympic Games at Tokyo in Japan, Mirabai Chanu won silver medal in weightlifting. PV Sindhu won bronze medal in badminton. And today itself, our men's hockey team won bronze medal in Tokyo Olympic. And so, cricket is not killing other sports in India. So I am thankful to all for listening me patiently, and I also thankful to our respected ma'am for giving me an opportunity to express my views on this topic before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejas and Siddhant. It was nice to hear you. Uh, now I would like to call next team, roll number 46 and roll number 47, Abhishek Vedav and Samyak Vora, and their topic is social media censorship, right or wrong.
Good evening, everyone. So today my topic for debate is social media censorship. Is it right or wrong? So as we all know, so I'm going to speak on positive side. So as we all know, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, etc., are very popular social media. They have millions and millions of users across the globe. Social media is very helpful to society and has developed very rapidly so far. People can go live on social media platforms and can urge to seek assistance if any, as such fire case, flood, medical, or any wrong happening in society. But on contrary, there are some exceptions. Social media should be censored because fake news and other false information can reshape the susceptible young minds and influences their belief in day-to-day life. Children imitate whatever they see on social media. Minors or children can also see inappropriate videos like vulgar, violent, abusive, and molestation, which may affect their mental state for some time, and this can change their outlook on life. People say that if you don't like it, you don't watch it, but it is easier said than done. More than 40% users are teenagers. Social media has proved that it is very important in our life. We enjoy watching movies or sports and get live updates, etc. So, just I want to say that there is some fake, unauthorized, and illegal information, websites, or etc., which are harmful to society and need to be censored. Hence, overall consideration, social media should be censored. Thank you. And I hand over to Samyak Vora to continue further. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. I'm Samekura, and my topic is is social media censorship is wrong. Social media should not be concerned. I believe it should not be concerned as it blocks my freedom of speech. Moreover, I believe that user should have a right to choose what he or she wants to read or write. If he gets censored, then I would lose my right to express myself. Also, the right, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., already give the users the right to block, report messaging, posts, etc. So why the government have a step in while the user can already block the report offensive texts? And what is the point of, as the person who can spread rumors on social media can also scream it out loud, and it is not possible to censor what humans say, so it will not make a huge difference. And if you have a problem with certain content, then don't visit the page or don't read. And if you can also block or report it. Lastly, we are humans, not objects. The country gives us the right to express our opinion in public. So just because of a few people who spread a nonsense rumors does not mean that if you should give up our rights, as we have to right to express our opinion and the government can't take away our fundamental rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek and Samyak. It was nice to hear you. Next, I would like to call roll number 48, Yogesh, and roll number 49, Vedangi. And their topic for debate is, should we have age limit or retirement for politicians?
Hello everyone. Good evening. Myself Yogesh Okode and my friend Vedangi Dole. We are here today to discuss a debate topic. Should we have an age limit for retirement for politicians? According to my point of view, there should be an age limit. In our country, every field have a same retirement age, but in politics, no such age limit is there. Generally, it has been seen that at the age of 55-60, a person become lazy and have many health problems. At that span of time, he loses his capability to think more effectively. As we know, politicians are very crucial and important part of our country. So politicians should have a retirement age. I feel it is a good to give a youth more opportunity because they are full of ideas and are energetic to their work. Youth are full of passion and they have capability to work zeal and confident. They are fresh-minded and can take a right decision. It will be a it will be age limit, then the young generation will get a chance to prove themselves. Nowadays, more than 90% of Indian politicians have above 60, just because there is a no age limit. A politician can continuously do his job till he is alive. I know they have experience, but after certain age of limit, they are not able to work effectively, which automatically affects on the development of our country. Due to lack of opportunities, many youngsters going to foreign country for higher education or in seek of good job. Youth should give opportunity in politics. There is there if there is some age limit for politicians and they won't be allowed to work beyond this age, many of young people will get a chance to work and do some good steps to improve our nation so that there may be chance to change the corrupted politics and make our country corruption free.
Sorry
And
to interrupt. Your time is up.
thank you.
Hello, Smriti. Am I clearly audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible, but there's a little echo.
अच्छा, 1 minute. Hello? Hello?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good evening. I am Vedangi Dhole. I bit disagree with the point discussed by Yogesh. According to my opinion, I don't think that it is necessary to have any age limit or retirement for politicians. I like to explain it through one quote. Youth is the gift of nature, but age is a work of art. First, I like to refer to some great personalities like Chanakya, Mahatma Gandhi, Winston Churchill, and Franklin Roosevelt. All of these are great personalities world ever we had. They continued their practicing even at last stage of their lives, and I am sure nobody will question at their capabilities of their mind. One's age shouldn't be concerned with respect to his or her talent. Age is no barrier, it's a limitation you put on your mind. And it is necessary to have experienced politician to handle the situation and solve the problems. As we know, experience is the key to the growth of any organization, even for a country. Experienced person has more problem solving skills on the basis of their practical knowledge. As we all see, Mr. Narendra Modi is 70 years old and he is still active with millions of supporters. If some politician is good enough at their work and able to bring peace and development, we should keep promoting him. But if we put an age limit, we have to lose some politicians who are exceptionally good at their field and developing our nation at the top position. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt with.
Thank you.
Nicely said. Thank you so much. Now, then I would like to call next team. Roll number 50, Shruti Munale, and 51, Dimple Sachdev. And their topic for debate is banning mobile devices at schools. Yes or no?
Good evening, everyone. I am Shruti Munare along with Dimple Sachdev here to have a debate on the topic banning mobile devices at school. Yes or no? Yes, mobile devices should be banned at school because students who are studying in the school are not matured enough, so they may misuse these devices. Mobile devices will cause distraction for both students as well as teacher. The class may get disturbed if a teacher find any student using a phone. Students might start browsing inappropriate websites and waste their time, which can be utilized to studies. Also, they will be negatively influenced by the content of badly chosen sites. Due to social media, games, and other applications, students will distract from their studies and which will affect their grades. Mobile devices can be used for cheating during exams, as many cases have been reported. They face many health issues. Thank you. Hand over to Dimple.
In today's modern world, there is a lot of progress in technology. Mobile phones are not just phones. They provide students and teachers with electronic dictionaries, magazines, maps, novels, reference books, musical instruments through application. Schools have a duty to prepare the young people to live in the world outside the learning environment. Mobile phones are an integral part of life, and schools should help young people to make an appropriate and effective use of the mobile phones. More and more children and teenagers are now getting used to the cell phones, and they are very handy, cheap, and useful mode of communication. Especially in the case of emergency, student can call their parents or helpline numbers like police. If student want something from the home, they can call their parents and they can get it. During a classroom session, it is very much possible to miss out a certain crucial point. Your cell phones can be used to record, playback the entire content, and they will not miss any point. During the class, the teachers shall ask the students to put their cell phones near the teacher. Then students will have no chance to use it in a wrong way, and also the class will not get disturbed. Phones are also useful for an educational related task like using calculator, or if you forget a notebook or a pencil, then you can take notes in the mobile phone. At last, I would end. A low price smartphone costs much less than a common personal computer or a laptop. Hence, parents could easily afford for many children to buy a smartphone. After all, it is in our hands how effectively we use the smartphones. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimple and Shruti. It nicely said. It was nice to hear. Now I would like to call the next team. Roll number 53, Ubaid Sheikh, and roll number 54, Abhishek Mure. And their topic for debate is, has examination Has it killed education? Rule number 53 and 54, you can start.
What are the names?
Ma'am, it's Obaid Sheikh and Abhishek Mule.
Okay. Just give them a last call. I think one of the students, did they contact you? Who will not be giving today? Keshav Valse something. Navle.
Hi,
Did he
yes,
call?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I thought it's they. Okay. So just mark down them as absent and we'll take them later. Okay?
Okay, ma'am. So I hope you all are having a great evening. Now, I like to hand over our the session to our next anchor, Akansha Vanga. Over to her.
Yes, am I audible, Nahin?
Yes, you're audible. You can start.
But you're not visible.
Yes, am I?
Yes.
Today is the big day to think how far flung we have come and how far we have to go. Along with the multifarious struggles and trims, there is much more to show and much more to thrive. Let's rejoice the majestic journey. Let's raise a toast to make it even better. Good evening, everyone. Myself, Akanksha, and I'll be your host. So now I would like to call rule number 55, Shivraj Jadhav, and rule number 56, Yash Agarwal. The debate gonna be on topic, we will never be corruption-free society. So I request them to start the debate.
You are not audible.
Shivraj, your voice not audible.
You can start. Yes, roll number 55 and 56. You can start.
Am I audible now? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you. I am Shivraj and my brilliant friend Yash Agarwal. We are here for the debate today, and the subject of our debate is we will never be a corruption-free society or not. So, in my opinion, we will never be a corruption-free society. Corruption may vary from one part to another part, but corruption will always be there for sure. It hurts me most when I see even poor people have to give bribe to make their basic necessities done. I will elaborate through a very good example. There was a king, and he come to know through his ex-intelligence officers that there is very much corruption in his kingdom. Then he orders his prime minister to finish the corruption in 1 year from his kingdom. His minister makes new laws, very strict laws, threatens his officials, give moral lessons to the public, and tries his best to finish the corruption from his country, from his kingdom. But he fails to finish the corruption because people find new ways to do corruption. People don't want it to work hard and earn money from proper ways, and every effort of the minister got fails. Then what did he do? He himself give bribe to the intelligence officers to do not report the corruption to the king of the kingdom. And in this way, the minister stays as minister, and there is no corruption for the king in his kingdom. In the last, I would like to tell that until and unless we study our great Vedic culture or our ancient culture, our saints, our great ancestors like Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
Sorry to interrupt, but your time is over.
5 seconds. And their biographies, their lives, until and unless we do that, we could never be a corruption-free society. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm Yash, and today, as you know, our topic is we will never be a corruption-free society. Yes, we can be a corruption-free society by taking some important measures. Corruption is like a cancer. It affects all the economic system of a country by getting people affected. Though the path of corruption-free society is difficult but not impossible, we can reduce corruption by taking some important measures, by making some more strict anti-corruption rules, by keeping an eye on every government activities. Every government offices must be kept under the surveillance system. The office of anti-corruption must be more strict. The government itself must not be corrupted. We the youth have the responsibility to refuse and accept to pay the corruption. By this way, we can reduce corruption, and we can live a healthy and prosperous life. It is also said that together we are against the corruption, and together we can defeat it. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you, teachers and my friends, for listening me patiently. Thank you.
Yes, roll number 55 and 56. Your delivery was so engaging that we lost all track of time. Now I would like to call roll number 59 Sumit Burse and roll number 60 Aditya Bargaje. And the topic is, should education be privatized entirely? I request them to start the debate.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Aditya, and today I'll be debating on privatizing education. Privatization means transfer of government property from private sector to
Video not
transfer
visible.
of government property.
Video
Yes, ma'am?
not visible. Video not visible.
It is visible.
Yeah, now it is visible.
Privatization means transfer of government property to private sector, and we all know private education is private institutions are good at providing educations. They have good premises, they have good teachers, and we get diversified education due to privatizing education. Private education is more comparative to world, because the persons are ahead in every some private education results speak for themselves. Why should they privatize education? It reduces burden from government, so they can focus on public welfare and goods. Big change of some private institution has classes from pre-primary to professionals. So people and students looking for private education, they
Sorry for
get
interrupt, but you are not visible.
Ma'am, I don't know why this happened. I'll rejoin. Ma'am, am I visible now?
Yeah.
It become very efficient for government also, as they diversify education from private education to government education, so people have choice. So that's from my side. Thank you. Handing over to Sumit.
Hello everyone, myself Sumit Burse, And Aditya, I partially agree with you, but I think poor people can't afford the fee in private institutes, and some private institute making student to just buy a hard subject for a good score, and even middle class people can't afford the private higher education. It leads to decrease in number of higher professionals in India. And I think without enough knowledge, some people are buying seats in private institutions, which results in inefficient professionals such as doctors and engineers without knowledge. I think that's it from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, your debate was very relevant to our current debates on local education. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call roll number 61 Sankalp Mahajan and roll number 62 Kiran Sawan, and the debate topic is Swadeshi relevant for India today? So I request them to start the debate.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you so much, Aknisha. Good morning, one and all. Good evening, one and all. Today, I am here to debate on the topic: Is Swadeshi relevant in India today? No nation has progressed without Swadeshi. You can take examples of US, Japan, China, Britain, and other developed nations. Developed nations have first done Swadeshi in their nation, and then they have allowed foreign investments and trade into the nation, and that too very limited. But they want to capture foreign nations' market. That is why they promote the concept of liberalism. All the developed nations, without any exception, have adopted Swadeshi and progressed. We cannot even name one of them as exception. Let me give an example. Suppose you went to buy a mug and you came across two products, one from China worth 20 rupees, another from India worth 25 rupees. You wouldn't bat an eye and go for a cheaper Chinese product and you celebrate that you have saved 5 rupees. But do you know how much it affects the nation and in turn to you? When you buy foreign made goods, naturally the money goes out in dollars to that country, which reduces our currency value. Reduced currency value means higher price for the imported goods like petrol and others. Not only that, when so much money is spent on importing goods, government is compelled to raise taxes to level out the money went outside the country. These taxes perhaps will be more than your 5 rupees. I just want to say that even if you have to pay a bit extra for the Indian made products, please do it, because it will not only boost our GDP, but also it will get back to you in the form of better healthcare. You're helping a father to send his son daughter to school, and therefore you're strengthening the economy. Thank you so much. Now I hand over to Sankalp Mahajan.
Thank you, Kiran. I am partially agree with Kiran's point of view, but the biggest reason for problem in accepting the Swadeshi products is people want branded and quality products. They don't believe in small companies. Indian companies, the products are higher in prices and lesser in quality product. I think the consumer who is spending his own money should buy what he gives value for money, regardless of country of the origin. It also up to the manufacturer to competitive to provide with the best quality products. Take examples of our mobile phones. There are many Indian brands such as Micromax, Lava, Eyeball, Carbon, but we prefer foreign brands such as OnePlus, Apple, Xiaomi, and more. The reason behind this quality of the product. India idea of Swadeshi is also ignore the basic principle of economics. We assume that money that foreign company puts in has no other effect other than making the profit, but it totally ignores the fact that kind of money company puts in the advertisement, then transportation, which helps Indian advertisements and transport companies. I have lists of some companies. Coca-Cola puts 4,025 crore rupees per year for advertisement. PepsiCo puts 3,020 crore rupees per year. Amazon has spent 2,640 crore for advertisement from April 2019 to March 2020. Another point is foreign companies who invest in our country do not take profit back to home. Example, Walmart is a huge profitable in USA, but its profit in India is minuscule. It makes sense for them to invest that money to expand their business in India, which automatically creates the jobs for local people. Again, taking the example of Coca-Cola has earlier committed an investment of $1.7 billion by 2030 to grow their business, which will help to grow our Indian economy. Thank you.
Your debate brought new insights from current research. It was pleasure to hear your debate. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call roll number 63 Ashutosh Samleti and roll number 64 Isha Karnawat, and the debate topic is mobile boon or ban. Yes, I request them to start the debate.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes, yes.
Good evening, one and all. Myself, Isha Karnawat. My roll number is 64, and I'm here to speak some positive point about mobile phone. As you all know, in our current condition, mobile phone is one of the most important thing in our educational system and more comfortable than any other devices. As you all know, this is very less expensive and easy to use and also comfortable. And the most important, it has all the latest features any device can have. By mobile phones internet, you can connect wherever and whenever you want. Mobile phones can also save a lot of time. By using mobile phones, Bluetooth and wireless earpods, you can avoid complete radiation of your mobile phones. And most important, as you all know, mobile phone has an app called as Truecaller by which you can track any number from anywhere and you can find the person, you can find the particular person. Mobile phones are only the multifunctional and quick communication devices. Apart from all of this, mobile phone can help parents, teachers, and students to contact in several of time. 62% of parents feel that mobile phone can be explained to children how to read and write easily. Now I would like my friend Ashutosh to convey his points towards mobile phones.
Yes, what happened? Smriti?
Yes, don't know, ma'am.
Who's the next then?
Ma'am, roll number 64. I have given roll number 63 is not there, I think.
Yeah, okay. Smriti, just take a note of it. We'll move ahead.
Sorry for interrupting, ma'am. Hello. I was
Yes.
late
Yeah,
for
I
the
think
class,
yes.
ma'am. Roll number 53. So can I present my debate?
Are you with the same topic?
No, ma'am. My roll number is 53 and my topic is education killing, examination killing our education.
So who is your partner?
Roll number 54, ma'am. Abhishek Mohe. He is absent for the class, ma'am.
Okay, we'll check out with you later. We need two of them. We'll currently handle roll number 64. So 64 opposite team is not present. Smriti, is it so? Smriti, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. 1 second. I'm checking. Ma'am, I think he is absent.
Okay, so we can. Is roll number 63, right?
Yes, ma'am. 63.
He left the meeting just now, so fine, not a problem. We can go to the next one.
Yes, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Handing over to the Nahin.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Very well done, guys. I would like to say every good conversation starts with good listening. With this note, I would like to thank all of you for your patient listening. With this, we conclude today's session, but we will meet tomorrow again with new team, new host, and new enthusiasm. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, one and all. The students who have not reported will contact the coordinators and then we'll set up along with your team once again. So we'll sign off for now. It was a good session overall. Everyone spoke well, I would say, and I see a lot of enthusiasm amongst the participants. I hope this enthusiasm and this communication you keep. Today also it was a very interactive session. However, the content has to be worked on. Okay. So with this, I conclude with the debate. A very good work done by all the anchors and the coordinator, Nahin and her team, Smriti and everyone. So thank you one and all. We'll sign off now. I'll just stop the recording.